Welcome, listeners, to Sir LENZO'S Memoirs. On this episode, falsehood as a truth. Falsehood as a truth. Now, you see, it is concerning the presidential elections in Nigeria this same 2023. That was just February 25 here, last month. And the election tribunals and the criminals, PDP, have consistently shown themselves to be when it comes to trying to overturn election victories. Now, I discussed something about this yesterday, and that's the fact that you cannot use a falsehood to chase a truth in the court of law. It is perjury. Now, according to them, they are basing their own electoral petition on a third-party device, that they are saying that the APC used to manipulate. Now, once you cannot substantiate this, you are guilty of perjury. You cannot manufacture lies to chase a truth. Now, despite all that being aside, really, because they are nonsensical arguments, the sole purpose of the election tribunal, the only purpose of the judiciary in this election, it is to certify the will of the people. They are not adding or deleting. The only function of the judiciary, and the judges should please be aware, this is not a subjective argument. Democracy is the government of the people, for the people, by the people. The people are supreme. There's no context to it in any legality. Now, the judiciary now is to ascertain that the due process of the contest was duly followed. Now, anybody can bring any argument, yes. But when you bring a falsehood, something that you cannot substantiate, that will start asking you, then you are attempting. It is a direct attempt. It is treasonable. We should all understand it from the very beginning. You cannot joke with the will of the people and say the vexation of God will not come upon you, because the PDP are in the habit of doing it. We have seen whereby in Osun State election, they have brought in synchronized beavers that is now giving birth to voters register. Now, there's no context in perpetual context. There's no context to infinity. You cannot, when there are rules of engagement, now introduce another thought. Just like now, we have spent money, the security of the system has actually been ascertained. Now, Atiku and Co are now bringing China. What nonsense is this now? Must still not be American, because we don't use the backbone that is an American infrastructure, or what exactly is the argument? Because when they have nothing, what they have refused to understand is that it was a digital election. Those that partook in that election were digitally captured. So what the tribunal is meant to do is check that process. The law is sacrosanct. You see, the judiciary is always doing as if the law, because they say it's an ass, is an ass to infinity. The rules are in the electoral laws. The electoral laws were made by the National Assembly, which is a sample of us. There is no judicial supremacy, because these Supreme Court judges and all these judges that are always just selling, they are obviously one way or the other selling judgments. Yes, I do not have proof, but I do have enough reason to say this. How can three judges of the appeal court put head in one place on an election in Osun that INEC had sensitized everybody on the rules of engagement? They are now saying now that those that voted from the grave should be counted. How? Did PDP not know the rules going into the contest? Did they not know the rules going into the contest, that it is only beavers accredited, only beavers accreditation? Before the Mary Oyali's time, when they were using card reader, they were saying it's voters register. They now went to make the law in 2022. Buhari signed it. So is the judiciary now saying we are just doing that as a process for ourselves, and they, as a supremacy, the gods, the puny gods they are? Let everybody please be aware. We are all common persons. And this cabalization of Nigeria by some certain groups should stop. The judiciary will call it its own. The ASU will call it its own. The press will call it its own. I saw a fantastic video that made my day this morning when that Oseni of Arise TV was being taken on by a former general. He keeps on saying everybody in security. Now the general said you are safe. You are safe. Like someone was telling me, he said Buhari has killed us and you and your family are alive. Who are now the us? Who are now the us? They will say everywhere is insecure and the bulk of the population is still standing. What nonsense statements are they making now? Everybody should please be aware. This is Nigeria. Our sovereignty is supreme. You cannot now go and start bringing some nonsense arguments to come and start chasing the truth. That, in fact, based on that, once you don't have any cogent, it should be thrown out. We don't need to spend money on the entire process. What the judges actually allow, what lacks merit, they now start discussing. That was why they said they had evidence in 2019 when to bring server. Where did you get the server from? They were now saying it was somewhere. How did the court now allow it? How did the Supreme Court, the appeal court, how did they allow it? How can a fake server result be chasing INEC data? INEC result. Who does the election? Is it the judiciary or INEC? INEC is an independent body. They make the rules for the election. Everybody knows. When did that was what the judges did in the Osun case now. They now shifted the goalpost. What nonsense is that now? Are we idiots? When they were thinking about it, did they think the rest of the country were stupid? Do they really think we have no thinking capacity because you are now a lawyer and you are now a judge? You now know all. The rest of us are now assumed to be stupid. How can you now say it's voters register when everybody knew that it was going to be beavers? What nonsense is this now? That is definitely a fallacy. You should not even try it in the very first place because some of these things have serious repercussions in the real world. Very serious repercussions. How can you make decisions like that and you are saying you're a Jew? What nonsense is that? You are shifting the goalpost now. You are now saying that it is a foundation of which election did the judiciary do? Now, you see, that's what the judiciary is always trying to do in Nigeria. They will just bring, we are talking of a Supreme Court that said that Onanefe Ibori and James Ibori are two different people. Who is now the other entity they are creating? When the judge that sentenced him said, this is the person, was the presiding judge, the judges, were they there when it happened? They will leave evidence and start to go into context. David Lyon's deputy is not his name. So who is now the person that went to the school? Who is the person that went to the school? They will leave real metrics and start going into concept. What nonsense is this now? Please, everybody should walk. There is nothing. Cannot be worshiping God and be fearing what the devil will do. Nothing. Anybody who won't do anything will do anything. You do anyhow, you see anyhow. This is our country. We are great. Anybody that touches anything on our election, it is treasonable. There's no immunity to it. They will just call judge. Judge will just have to judge rubbish. What nonsense is that? The independence of INEC is what nonsense? Did they just put it there for nothing? You find out, and all these high court judges, look at the elections. INEC is independent. There was already a case that already said INEC did not need to immediately send it. That the LP had already gotten in January. That they told them they are now still going back. Is the judiciary, is it disjointed? People keep complaining. The same high court, they will just be giving contract. Look, if the CGN is not competent, they sack him. And we should stop this thing that the CGN must be by hierarchy. What nonsense hierarchy? His competence that overrides all in governance, please. The 10th Senate should help us and make enabling laws when it comes to this judiciary. Let's break up all these people and their nonsense. They have started again. And I am just sounding a warning. They will be using falsehood to chase the truth. It is perjury from the very beginning. Because all this one is saying now, we don't know, the election has been done. It is the process that the tribunal will go through. They are not starting new matter. The process we have selected, we have elected. We have elected our president. So it is to certify the will of the people. The will of the people. It is not a judicial context. You cannot determine our will for us. It is above their pay grade. Nobody gave them that right. They will just say this and this. What nonsense is that now? The process has been well set out by INEC. Everybody knew. Even we, the voting public, knew. So why are they not? Where did they not start shit go post? They just start one matter. What nonsense matter? Are you choosing a president for us? The will of the people. Democracy is the government of the people for the people by the people. So the only thing in this election petitions are meant to do is to certify the will of the people. It is a certification of the will of the people, not a context of the judge. Not a context of the judge. They will just look this person. What nonsense is all this now? Even if the person is, that's not your business anymore. The people have chosen. They will now start to disqualify this person. Just look, once it has entered the election and the people have chosen their leader, it is not for any judge. There's no judge that was given that power. They should stop claiming what is not their own. There's no judicial supremacy. Because the way it's now, someone will just be a lawyer, will just go through me, I will be an engineer, this person will be a doctor. You will now start to say you are not judging who. What nonsense is that? All of us are reasonable. All of us went to school. All of us have a thinking faculty. You must make reasonable decisions, not decisions. That's shifting the post in Osun elections now. Shifting the post. What nonsense is that? Shifting the post. From Beaver's accreditation, you are now saying that the foundation is the voter. Are we supposed to just imbibe it and say because you are the judiciary, we accept it, you are turned to a god on our lives? Nigeria is a country of intellectuals. The judiciary should be very ready because they made one judgment, the Supreme Court made one judgment on Lawan and Martina. They were now saying people should keep quiet. What nonsense is that now? They were now, the NBA was now threatening lawyers. What nonsense is that now? In a democracy. You are now trying to turn yourself into judicial dictators. Look, all of us should give ourselves sense. Because I am waiting. I said it that time. I already said it that synchronized beavers ended up being voters register. Now that one don't confuse them now. They talk of saying China. What has all that got to do with our elections? They said they use a third party device. No wahala. They must prove it. Once you cannot prove it, to just carry them go jail. You cannot use a falsehood to chase our truth. You cannot bring a falsehood into the court of law concerning our elections. Once you cannot prove it, it's a fake attempt. INEC data is the only data we are using. They use a third party, and you won where you won, and he lost where he lost, and they use a third party. Is either they throw it out, from the very beginning. Do you understand? Because when you start to accuse, when you start to proclaim that the federal government is doing what the federal government is not doing, then where are you getting that your story? Which government are you loyal to? Which government? Who is supplying you that information? You must show us everything. What nonsense. Every election, they will just bring up issues that are no issues. We have done the elections. Nigerians have decided. The certification of our decision is the only thing the election tribunal is going to check. All of us, they watch ourselves. All of us are watching ourselves. They are saying the CGN all down on our business. All of us are watching ourselves with our brains intact. Hope you guys have enjoyed it.